Are you tired of hearing those awkward pauses every time your students shift to a new hand position? Yeah, you're not alone. Today, I'm sharing 12 practical activities that transform those rigid pauses into flowing musical transitions your students will actually want to practice. When your students can play beautiful, engaging music with just one hand, it removes the mental overload of coordinating both hands and really lets them hear, feel, and understand how smooth movement should work. So, let me show you what I mean as you listen to this piece. This piece, Sunbeams Through the Canopy, is educationally designed with these exact hand position concepts in mind. Those black key patterns make it perfect for building smooth transitions. And by the way, you'll find the sheet music at my website or by scanning the QR code right here. Now, while the obvious use for one-handed pieces is when a student enters their arm or hand, there are so many other benefits for developing smooth hand position changes. And I'm going to show you how. Let's start with something that might surprise you. Hearing activities for hand position work. I know it sounds odd to hear hand positioning, but it's honestly the best place to start and as you're troubleshooting along the way. By the way, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Rosemarie. I've been teaching for over 20 years and composing imaginative educational piano music for nearly as long here at Must Love Music. An activity I use constantly with my students is oral comparisons, because let's face it, students don't always accurately hear what they're playing. So using that Sunbeams Through the Canopy example, you'd play the same passage twice, once with obvious hand position breaks and then with smooth transitions. Have your student identify which version flows better and describe what they hear differently. A variation of this is to play a section while your student counts how many hand jumps or breaks they hear. Once they've counted the breaks, then play it smoothly and compare those counts. This works really brilliantly when they've already learned a section, but those breaks have become habits. That way, they hear what you're hearing. You can also record your student playing and then have them rate each transition on a scale of 1 to 3. Was it very choppy, somewhat connected, or perfectly smooth? This builds their oral self-awareness incredibly quickly and helps them make decisions on which sections need focused practice. Once your students are able to hear those breaks, it's time for the hands-on work. Doing an experiment with bench position is an eye-opener. Have students try playing the same chord progression from 3 different distances. So too close with T-Rex arms, too far, and then just right. They'll immediately feel how that bench position affects their ability to move smoothly. For students who consistently drop their wrists, and we've all seen it, have them play chord progression with wrists below the keys, at key level, and then slightly above. They'll discover which position allows the smoothest movement without you having to say a word. And my favorite is pretending to be a spider walking. Using a chord progression from their piece, have your student practice contracting like a spider to move between the chords and then immediately relaxing into a natural hand shape once positioned. In this instance, we're teaching them how you're going from relaxed to contracted and then back. Pausing once they're in the new position before they start playing the new chord gives you a perfect moment to check their technique and really help them be intentional about that specific movement. Now, for more inspiration, your students can practice any of these 3 activities in my videos specifically for them. Plus, they'll see me with those T-Rex arms trying to reach the keys, and you can find it here. Exploring alternative finger patterns works great when you have a student doing finger gymnastics or playing Twister with their fingers. I mean, we've all seen it, right? And wondered, okay, how did you think that could be more comfortable than what was written in the music? It always makes me laugh. What you can do is take any awkward chord progression, or maybe it's just a specific, between 2 chords, and then try 2 to 3 different finger options. So it could be your traditional 1-3-5, or 1-2-5, it could be 1-2-4. Let your student choose which creates the smoothest transitions for their hands. This activity also works great when your student is going through a growth spurt, and to them at least, the keys seem to be getting smaller from week to week. If you're finding these activities helpful so far, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. It really helps support these detailed teaching resources. Activities like these work because they connect practical movement to musical understanding, exactly the kind of flexible teaching approach that makes your week so much easier. My newsletter shares more pedagogically sound strategies just like these, plus ready to implement activities and educationally designed sheet music that your students will love to play. Plus, you even influence upcoming resources. So sign up for the best piano email ever. Link is in the description or scan this QR code. Now that your students can hear and feel the difference, let's help them see those concepts on the page. So we're going multisensory here. Mapping out hand position in their music is brilliant to use after counting hand jumps back in activity 2, because it bridges what your student is hearing to what they're seeing on the page. Have them mark where hand positions changes occur in their music, and then plan those spider walks before playing to avoid any surprises. For tension trouble spots, get your student to circle or highlight where they typically get tense or choppy, and then write reminders about relaxed hand shape or bench position. For myself, I usually write relax in very big letters in my music, and then my students have their own preferences as well. Let your student use whatever words or symbols work best for them so it actually sticks. And it could even be stickers that you have that, remind them of what they need to do. I know it's tempting to jump in and find the problem spot for your student and decide on the strategy for them. But it's much more powerful and longer lasting to have your student identify one choppy transition in their piece and then tell you their strategy for making it smooth. Maybe it's a finger pattern change, hand shape adjustment, or something else entirely. So this goes back to you've probably shown them different ways. Maybe you've used some of the activities from this video, and now you're getting them to apply it versus you're the one directing it. So these final activities put the ownership directly in your students' hands by having them document and create their own solutions. For example, a body position checklist could tap into students' buy-in beautifully. After going through the playing activities earlier, have your student create a personal reminder list or graphics about bench distance, rest height, and hand shape that work best for their body and hand size. If your student's artistic, they might love creating a visual reminder. And for forgetful students, we all are sometimes, this jogs their memory between lessons. And this is way more effective because it's coming from them and they're going to naturally highlight the things that they're going to forget. Giving choice in what finger patterns to use is a huge step forward in building ownership in your studio as well. Have your students write their preferred alternative finger number options above difficult transitions, choosing based on what creates the smoothest movement rather than just following standard patterns. When your students feel like they have a say, they're more engaged. Plus, it saves you from endless repetition because they understand why those finger patterns work. And you might say, we don't have time for that. Do you have time to repeat? Well, if you don't have time to repeat endlessly, I can tell you, my students, they learn very quickly, oh, you know what? The composer wrote in those finger numbers for a reason. They often pick what was on the page originally, but because they had the time to experiment, they remember it in a way that them just not looking at it on the page ever will. So what's your biggest challenge when teaching smooth hand position changes? Is it getting students to hear their own choppy moments or helping them feel the difference in their technique? Let me know in the comments. Mastering these hand position strategies transforms how your students approach every piece they'll ever play. The Singular Moments playlist right here offers gorgeous one-handed pieces that let your students focus entirely on smooth, flowing movement without the stress of coordinating both hands. It's the ideal bridge between basic technique and advanced musicality. Thanks and happy playing.